Thanks for joining us. I'm Raymond Goh, and this is Nightline, news making the headlines. 4 policemen arrested for allegedly extorting 3 million ringgit from drug lord. And Malaysian Judiciary makes history by employing artificial intelligence in sentencing. Good morning. 4 policemen, including a senior police officer, have been arrested for allegedly extorting 3 million ringgit from a businessman. Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Abdul Hamid Bado said the money was an inducement to cover up a drug processing laboratory in Cheras, Kuala Lumpur. Tan Sri Abdul Hamid stressed that police would carry out a thorough investigation into the case and are currently in the process of gathering evidence. All the policemen who were from the Selangor contingent had apparently abused their power by getting involved in a case under the jurisdiction of the Kuala Lumpur police. He also said that the policemen involved were acting without the knowledge and authorization from their superiors.
Dalam kes tersebut telah pun diambil tindakan dan sedang akan diambil tindakan dalam masa terdekat. Kita sedang mengumpulkan fakta-faktanya. Tim siasatan telah ditubuhkan. Kita dah kenal pasti mereka yang dikatakan terlibat dalam perbuatan tidak bertanggungjawab ini. So apabila bukti yang telah dapat kita kumpulkan, mereka akan ditangkap.
Police have yet to recover the 3 million ringgit as investigations are still at an early stage. The Chief of Police said this at the press conference after attending the replacement of elevators ceremony for the Police Training Centre and Pantai Police Station today. The suspects were arrested by a special CID team from Kuala Lumpur who acted on an extortion report made by a 49-year-old Taiwanese businessman who was earlier arrested on drug charges. On another matter, the IGP said the case of the missing Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 might be reopened if the aircraft or its wreckage is found. Tan Sri Abdul Hamid Bado, who was part of the investigation team then, said police investigated the case from all angles, including theories of terrorism and hijacking. The IGP said this when asked to comment on the claim by former Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott that Malaysia's top leadership from the outset considered the disappearance of MH370 in 2014 a mass murder-suicide by the pilot. Abbott said this in a clip from a 2-part documentary aired today on Sky News. The former Aussie Premier, however, declined to name any individuals to support his claim.
Itu saya berikan privilege kepada beliau waktu itu beliau sebagai Perdana Menteri kan. Kalau beliau nak berkongsi dengan media tentang apa yang dibualkan dengan pegawai atasan Malaysia itu terpulang pada dia lah ya. So saya di pihak polis saya tidak boleh memberikan apa-apa komen terhadap selagi apa ni tidak ditemui lah ya. Itu dari segi undang-undangnya. Okey.
The IGP said that Malaysia has collected various information and facts regarding the missing airplane and said that the case might be reopened if the aircraft is found. Tan Sri Abdul Hamid also disclosed that the International Criminal Police Organization Interpol has already included fugitive businessman Lau Teck Joe or Joe Low on its red notice list. He went on further to explain the types of the red notice list. The IGP was asked to comment on recent reports that Interpol has yet to include Joe Low on the wanted list. A red notice is a request to law enforcement worldwide to locate and provisionally arrest a person pending extradition, surrender or similar legal action.
Memang tersenarai. Ya, ada. So ada pihak mengatakan tak ada red notice, saya minta dia jumpa saya. Ya. Siapa yang kata tak ada red notice, mari jumpa saya. Datang ke ofis saya. Dia ada macam-macam kategori ya. Ada 2 kategori dalam Interpol punya Satu yang boleh dikongsi bersama orang public. Satu lagi hanya dihadkan kepada penguatkuasa saja. Agensi-agensi penguatkuasa.
Asked if the intelligence agent could detect Joe Low's whereabouts, Tan Sri Abdul Hamid said the businessman was previously located in Wuhan, China. The number of fully recovered COVID-19 patients has increased to 15 after 2 more confirmed cases were given a clean bill of health and discharged from Sungai Buloh Hospital on Wednesday. Health Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Zulkifli Ahmad said the 2 cases were the 17th and 18th cases tested positive on February 9th.
Kes ini adalah satu kes ke-17, 17. Yang merupakan seorang wanita tempatan berumur 65 tahun dan merupakan kontak rapat kepada kes ke-9. Kes ke-17 ini kontak rapat pada kes ke-9. Kes ke-9 adalah orang pertama warga Malaysia yang engineer yang menghadiri mesyuarat di Singapura, dan kes ke-17 ini adalah mak mertua, ibu mertua, ya, mother-in-law of that case 9, ya. Menteri semua saya yang bahagia.
He added that no new COVID-19 infection was reported on Wednesday, and the total confirmed cases in Malaysia remains at 22, with 7 patients still receiving treatments in hospitals. Earlier, the minister launched the Virtual Health Advisory, which is a digital platform to channel information and reduce public misinformation regarding COVID-19 infection. The platform, created in collaboration between his ministry and Doctor on Call, can be accessed for free for the first 3 months.
Itu adalah perkara yang.
Meanwhile, the death toll from China's new coronavirus epidemic rose to 2,004 on Wednesday after 136 more people died, with the number of new cases falling for a second straight day. According to the National Health Commission, only 1,749 new cases of people infected with the virus nationwide were reported, the lowest number of new cases this month, bringing the total number of confirmed cases in mainland China to 74,185. Most of the new cases were in the Hubei province, while 56 of the new cases were reported outside the epicenter. However, the World Health Organization has cautioned that it is too early to tell if the decline will continue. Outside mainland China, an elderly Hong Kong man who contracted the new coronavirus died on Wednesday, marking the second fatality from the outbreak in the semi-autonomous Chinese city. Officials said the man was taken to hospital on February 12th after a fall at home. The deceased was one of the 62 confirmed cases in the Chinese-ruled city. Over in Japan, passengers on the novel coronavirus-inflicted Diamond Princess cruise ship started disembarking on Wednesday in Yokohama port after a 2-week quarantine period. The government said in at least 3 days, nearly 3,000 people will disembark from the ship, which has 542 confirmed cases of the pneumonia-causing virus so far. Those found to be infected have been transported to medical facilities, while disembarking passengers will be transported to Yokohama and other train stations in the area and can go home by public transportation. However, those who have had close contact with the infected on the ship will be kept on board for further monitoring, even though they have tested negative. Meanwhile, in Iran, 2 people were tested positive Wednesday for the COVID-19, the first cases of the disease in the Islamic Republic. According to a ministry spokesman, Kianush Jahanpour, the cases were detected in the holy city of Qum, south of the Iranian capital. Jahanpour added that additional tests were being done on the 2 cases and final results will be announced as soon as possible. Now, back at the home front, Datuk Seri Dr. Wan Azizah Wan Ismail said activities planned for this year's Women's Day celebration are expected to see less crowds due to the COVID-19 outbreak. The Deputy Prime Minister also advised those who are unwell not to attend the events.
Kita ada juga satu peringatan bahawa dengan adanya kluster coronavirus ini, kita ada tempat-tempat yang kita mahu ramai orang berkumpul, namun kita ada sediakan hand sanitizer dan kita ingatkan supaya kita menjaga kebersihan masing-masing, personal hygiene, supaya tidak ada spread. Sebab ini adalah salah satu daripada isu yang menjadi melanda negara kita sekarang ini. Alhamdulillah.
She was speaking at a media conference to announce the celebration to be held from March 1st to March 12th. Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad will be launching the National Women's Day celebration on March 6 at the Putrajaya International Convention Centre. The Women, Family and Community Development Ministry has planned for 17 programs to be held at national, state and community levels. Meanwhile, the government is advising industry players whose businesses are affected by the COVID-19 outbreak to retain and refrain their employees to prepare for a rebound. Deputy Finance Minister Dato' Amiruddin Hamzah said the government had already engaged with the affected industry players and is now looking into the stimulus package to be offered in order to help them.
So that when the bounce back happens, you are there to really catch up. And for all you know, when the bounce back happens, it could be that something that what you have missed or the losses that you made, you can even cover it and probably make more money after the bounce back happens. So we are advising them, please look carefully, consider carefully.
He spoke to the media after the launch of the first Islamic Center for Emerging Technologies, ISET, on Wednesday. In the stimulus package, the government would offer initiatives to ease the burden of employers instead of layoff decisions. The Malaysian Judiciary made history on Wednesday by employing artificial intelligence, or AI, for sentencing in 2 court cases. The new tool to be used in Sabah and Sarawak courts is expected to help save the judges' time in referring to past cases manually and provide improved analysis and consistent recommendations to aid in the judicial decision-making. The AI technology was first introduced in the Kota Kinabalu Magistrates Court and used by Magistrate Jessica Ombu Kakayun to deliver sentences on 2 accused who pleaded guilty over separate drug possession charges. After reviewing recommendations from the AI system, the magistrate sentenced 43-year-old Dennis Modili to 12 months in jail, which will run concurrently with an 8-month jail sentence he's currently serving for another drug case. The court also sentenced another accused, Christopher Divingson Minol, 26, to 9 months jail. The use of the AI system involved entering parameters such as the sections under which the accused are charged with, their age, employment and socio-economic data. It also analyzes data based on the defense and prosecution's arguments, as well as the database of past cases between 2014 and last year in Sabah and Sarawak. Chief Judge of Sabah and Sarawak, Tan Sri David Wong, who was present during the court proceedings, told reporters later that he was satisfied with the process, but also expected objections to be made against the use of the AI tool in the judicial system.
When we launched it, we expect this sort of challenge because when anything new, which may infringe the rule of law or the constitution, we just have to take the challenge as it comes. Well, you see, lawyers are entitled to make whatever objections. This is a new tool for the court, and unless it's tested in the court, we will not know whether it is constitutional or not.
He added they are in the process of using the AI tool for civil cases related to motor accidents in 3 to 6 months. Chief Justice Tan Sri Tengku Maimun Tuan Mat was also present to witness the historic moment. As of now, the AI system is being used for cases of drug possession under the Dangerous Drugs Act and rape under the Penal Code. The Datin Sri Rosmah Mansour's solar project trial. The former Education Ministry Secretary General on Wednesday revealed that she had to entertain the company embroiled in the corruption trial because her officers had been threatened. Tan Sri Dr. Madinah Muhammad said she entertained Ryan Radzwil Abdullah's queries on the status of Jepak Holdings Sdn Bhd solar hybrid project proposal because he was threatening her officers in the ministry. Testifying at the Kuala Lumpur High Court, Tan Sri Dr. Madinah said she received complaints from her officers that a person named Ryan was harassing those who were in the ministry's procurement division. She said Ryan told her officers that he would lodge a complaint with the then Prime Minister and demanded to see the Secretary General, forcing her officers to persuade her to see Ryan. The sixth prosecution witness also said that her officers could not stand the threats and insults anymore. When asked by Defence Counsel Dato' Abdudin Abdul Kadir why she was also communicating with Ryan through WhatsApp regarding Jepak Holdings' solar hybrid project proposal, she said that Ryan was polite to her during their meeting and did not use threats on her as he had done with her officers. Tan Sri Dr. Madinah added that at the time the WhatsApp messages were exchanged, she was also under the impression that Ryan was working together with Datin Sri Rosma's former aide, Dato' Rizal Mansor. Tan Sri Dr. Madinah later, however, agreed with Dato' Akberdin's suggestion that it was not her responsibility to liaise with Ryan. Meanwhile, High Court Judge Justice Muhammad Zaini Mazlan advised the defence and the prosecution to be civil as shouting matches and frayed tempers filled the courtroom. The morning started with a shouting match between lead prosecutor Dato' Sri Gopal Sri Ram and Dato' Akberdin as Dato' Sri Gopal questioned the defence's line of questioning, which focused on former Prime Minister Dato' Sri Muhammad Najib Tun Razak's role in the solar hybrid project proposal by Jepak Holdings Sdn Bhd. Dato' Sri Gopal interjected that a person who was facing charges was not Dato' Sri Najib but Datin Sri Rosma. The trial continues before High Court Judge Justice Muhammad Zaini Mazlan on Thursday. Still to come on Nightline, man arrested for allegedly setting a Bilal on fire. Welcome back. A man believed to be mentally unstable was arrested by police after allegedly splashing kerosene at a Bilal and setting him alight. Kota Star District Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Muhammad Rozi Jiddin said a man in his 40s had allegedly committed the offence because he was angry with a Bilal who had rejected his application for assistance before. He said the man was arrested at flat in Sania area in Alostar around 1:30 p.m. on Wednesday. He added the suspect also tested positive for methamphetamine when a urine test was conducted. Amri Budin, 67, was about to start his duties at Masjid Al-Hassana in Taman Rakyat at 5:45 a.m. on Wednesday when his attacker, who was wearing a mask, barged into the mosque compound and threw kerosene at Amri before setting him alight. Amri suffered 25% burns to his face, hands and left side of the body. He has been sent to the Sultanah Bahia Hospital for treatment. The case is being investigated under Section 326 of the Penal Code for voluntarily causing grievous hurt with a dangerous weapon and also under Section 15, subsection 1A of the Dangerous Drugs Act 1952. In Negeri Sembilan, a 10-month-old girl was killed in a fire at a house in Kampung Bengkahulu Gemas on Wednesday after she was left alone sleeping in an electric swing in the house while her mother went to Gemas town for business. According to Tampin Deputy Police Chief, Deputy Superintendent Ahmad Pilus Zainal, the baby who died at the 11:30 a.m. incident was identified as Siti Nur Aini Zulimi. Initial investigations revealed that the victim's mother contacted her neighbor to help see if her baby girl was all right before she was notified by her neighbor that her house was on fire. It is understood that the baby had already died when the mother arrived at the house. In Pahang, a former Pengurusan Air Pahang Berhad PAIP Assistant Production Manager on Wednesday claimed trial to 11 charges of receiving bribes amounting to 273,650 ringgit to help a private company secure post-flood repair projects some 5 years ago. Jamal Nasir Mamad, aged 63, was accused of receiving the cash through private company director T. Meng Lee as an inducement after helping T's engineering firm secure projects worth 3.7 million ringgit from PAIP through direct negotiations to carry out repair works after the 2014 floods. The court set bail at 80,000 ringgit in one surety and fixed May 4th for mention. In Kuala Lumpur, a 42-year-old man involved in a fatal road rage incident last year was allowed by the Kuala Lumpur High Court to begin his legal challenge against his murder charge. This was after the accused, Yu Wei Liang, was granted leave to initiate a judicial review application on Wednesday. On August 22nd last year, Yu was charged with the murder of Syed Muhammad Daniel Syed Shakir near kilometer 293.6 of the North-South Expressway between 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. on August 10th, 2019. The judicial review comes on the heels of a consent which was not instituted by the Attorney General prior to the prosecution of Yu. The court then fixed March 4th for case management. Japan Tobacco International Berhad, JTI Malaysia, on Wednesday said that Malaysia has been losing 5 billion ringgit in tax revenue annually from the sale of illegal cigarettes. An illicit cigarette study, ICS, conducted by research house Nielsen and commissioned by the Confederation of Malaysian Tobacco Manufacturers, CMTM, found that 62.5% of all cigarettes consumed in Malaysia were illicit. The situation has made Malaysia the largest consumer of illegal cigarettes in the world, followed by Uganda and Brazil. After this breather, appeals court raises prison term for ex-South Korean president. Nightline continues. A South Korean appellate court on Wednesday delivered a heavier prison term of 17 years to former President Lee Myung-bak on bribery and embezzlement charges, bringing him back into custody after he was released on bail. The prison term is higher than the 15 years of imprisonment that a lower court handed down in October 2018 to Lee, who ruled the country from 2008 to 2013. At a second hearing, the Seoul Central District Court also ordered the 78-year-old to pay a fine of 13 billion won, or $11 million, and forfeit 5.78 billion won. The conviction brought Lee back into custody after he was released on bail on health concerns in March 2019. It is understood that the former president was convicted of embezzling tens of millions of US dollars from DAS, a lucrative auto parts maker that is believed to also be owned by Lee under borrowed names. He was found guilty of receiving millions of US dollars in bribes from Samsung Group, the country's biggest family-controlled conglomerate. Now, before we wrap up this edition of Nightline, let's take a quick look at what's been installed on the front pages of Malaysia's main newspapers for Thursday, February the 20th. The New Straits Times carries the MH370 report, which stated that there was no evidence of murder-suicide on its front page. While Malaysia's best-selling Malay daily, Harian Metro, highlights on the arrest of 4 police officers allegedly involved in 3 million ringgit extortion. Another Malay daily, Berita Harian, focuses on fugitive businessman Joe Low, which is now on the Interpol's red notice list. And the Malaysian Reserve reveals that Suzuki is making a comeback in Malaysia with Naza. Make sure you get your copies then.